When Commander Elias Varon first stepped onto the soil of Epsilon 6, the air felt heavier than Earth's, as though the planet was trying to hold him down. His boots sank half an inch into the soft violet moss that covered the valley floor. It released a faint bioluminescent glow beneath every step, like fireflies winking in liquid. The sky above was a shifting canvas of teal and gold, clouds flowing in slow spirals that seemed to follow invisible magnetic lines. The mission was simple, or so Earth Command had said. Establish first contact with Anthari, the only known intelligent species of Epsilon 6. After years of remote observations and orbiting probes, the species had shown signs of language, agriculture, and even primitive forms of architecture. What they hadn't shown was hostility. That was why Elias, a linguist-turned-diplomat, was here, to offer peace, trade, and friendship. His small research team had set up a base near the valley's edge. 2 biologists, a robotics engineer, and a medic. They were weeks into their mission, and while communication with Anthari was progressing, it was slow, frustratingly slow. The alien language was not spoken so much as sung, woven through rhythmic vibrations and harmonic overtones that made even their translators struggle to keep up. Elias had spent hours every evening sitting alone, listening to the playback of their attempts at dialogue. He often found himself staring into the moss, its light fading as the sun slipped below the horizon, wondering if humanity was truly ready to meet another thinking species. Then she came. Tooth, the alien woman. The Anthari woman appeared at the edge of the human camp on the 12th night. She was tall, lithe, and moved with a deliberate grace that made her seem like she was gliding instead of walking. Her skin shimmered faintly, like a smooth opal surface that caught and reflected ambient light. Her eyes were immense, entirely black except for a faint halo of shifting color around the irises. When she looked at Elias, he felt as though she were seeing through him, not in a threatening way, but in quiet curiosity. The team froze as she approached. No weapons, no translator device, no entourage, just her. She stopped 5 meters from Elias, placed one hand on her chest, and made a sound. A soft, rising tone that hovered like a note from a flute. Elias raised his hand in greeting and replied, "I'm Elias." He tapped his chest the same way she had, then repeated, "Elias." The woman's head tilted. She mimicked the gesture and made another sound, this one deeper, almost a purr. The translator struggled, cycling through phonetic possibilities before outputting a rough translation. Sarin. That was her name. Elias smiled. Sarin, he repeated. And just like that, the first true meeting between human and Anthari began. Not in a conference room, but under a sky streaked with gold light, surrounded by glowing moss. 3. The gift. Over the following weeks, Sarin became a constant presence around the camp. She was cautious at first, observing from a distance, but gradually grew bolder. She communicated using gestures and simple musical tones, and soon Elias found himself understanding more than the translator could. There was a rhythm to her speech, an emotional subtext that transcended syntax. Elias learned that Sarin was not a leader among her people but a lore keeper, a guardian of songs that preserved her species' memories. To the Anthari, history was sung, not written. Knowledge was vibration, harmony, resonance. One evening, while the others were collecting data samples, Elias sat with her by a shallow pool that mirrored the twin moons. Sarin hummed a low tune, and ripples spread across the water in perfect concentric circles. He noticed that her song seemed to interact with the liquid itself, creating delicate waves that danced to her melody. "You use sound to shape the world," he said quietly. Her head inclined. The translator emitted a faint click before whispering, "All is sound." The world listens when we sing true. Elias nodded slowly, struck by the beauty of her words. He thought for a long time before deciding on the gift. It wasn't anything grand. No tool, no piece of advanced technology. He wanted something human, something that carried meaning. So the next day, he rummaged through his personal effects until he found it. A small, handcrafted music box. It was an antique from his grandmother, made of brass and wood, etched with faint floral designs. When wound, it played a simple earth lullaby, a melody passed down through generations. When Sarin arrived that evening, Elias held the box out to her with both hands. "For you," he said softly. She regarded it with her usual calm, her black eyes reflecting his face. He turned the key and let it play. The tune filled the air, soft and fragile. Sarin's expression changed. Her eyes widened slightly, her body stilled, and then she placed both hands on the music box as if it were alive. The music faded. For a long moment she said nothing. Then, without warning, she stepped back and began to sing. For the unexpected reaction. Her voice was unlike anything Elias had ever heard. It wasn't a simple melody. It was multi-layered, like several harmonics woven together, vibrating through the air, through the ground, even through his bones. The moss around them brightened, glowing more intensely with every note. The water in the pool began to shimmer, forming intricate geometric patterns. The entire valley seemed to listen to her song. And then something impossible happened. The music box rose from her hands, suspended midair. It spun slowly, resonating with her tone, its metallic surface vibrating as though answering her call. A faint halo of light formed around it, growing brighter with every second. Elias stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. When the sound finally stopped, the box floated gently back into her palms. She cradled it against her chest, trembling, not with fear but something deeper. "Oh, reverence." Her voice broke into a whisper, translated roughly as, "The earth hums in this thing. You carry the memory of your kind inside a vessel of harmony. You have sung truth." She looked at him, eyes shining. Then, to his utter shock, she knelt, one knee touching the glowing moss. Elias's breath caught. No, you don't have to," he began, stepping forward, but she only pressed a hand to her heart. "You have given me echo." 5. The meaning of echo. Over the days that followed, Sarin's behavior changed. She began bringing other Nthari to meet Elias, introducing him as the echo giver. First it was endearing. Then it became unsettling. The Nthari began building circular stone formations near the camp, each carved with intricate wave-like patterns. They would gather there at dusk, singing the same lullaby that came from the music box, Elias's grandmother's song, transposed into their complex harmonic language. It filled the entire valley, vibrating through the air like a heartbeat. His team grew concerned. "They're deifying you," said Dr. Halvorsen, the robotics engineer. "They think you're some kind of prophet." Elias frowned. "No, it's just a misunderstanding. I gave her a gift, that's all." Halvorsen crossed his arms. "You didn't just give her a gift. You introduced them to music they've never heard before. Their entire culture revolves around sound. You might have just altered it forever." The thought haunted Elias. He hadn't meant to interfere. The music box was meant as a gesture of peace, not worship. But Sarin's people had taken it differently. To them, the little device was not a mechanical trinket. It was proof that humans, too, could shape the universe through sound. It blurred the line between art and divine act. 6. The Council of Resonance. A week later, Sarin invited Elias to her home village, a vast canyon carved by wind and time. Structures grew directly from the rock, spiraling upward like the inside of a seashell. The Nthari gathered there, hundreds of them, their eyes luminous in the dim light. They sang as he entered, a chorus that felt less like music and more like gravity, pulling him inward. At the center of the canyon sat a large crystal formation. It pulsed faintly, synchronized with the rhythm of the songs. Sarin stood beside it, holding the music box. He turned to Elias. "The council wishes to bind with you," the translator whispered. "To share echo." He hesitated. "What does that mean?" Sarin placed a hand over her chest. "To hear what you hear. To become what you are." Before he could respond, she opened the music box. The melody played again, but this time the crystal began to resonate with it. Light shot upward from the formation, forming a column that extended into the sky. The song spread like ripples through the canyon walls, harmonizing with Nthari's voices. Elias felt something tug at his mind, a vibration deep inside his skull. It wasn't painful, but intimate. The translator malfunctioned, spitting out fragments of phrases. Memory, shared, resonance, truth. Suddenly, images flooded his vision, memories not his own. Worlds of sound, oceans that sang, skies that whispered names. He saw through Sarin's eyes, the first sunrise of Epsilon 6, the ancient songs of her ancestors, the grief of extinction and rebirth. And in return, she saw his childhood on Earth, his grandmother's lullaby, the long voyages of humankind through the void. They had merged, not physically but emotionally, through vibration and memory. When it ended, Sarin was weeping. "Now I know your song," she whispered. "And you know mine." 7. The dilemma. The merge had unintended consequences. In the days that followed, communication between humans and Nthari became easier, almost telepathic, but also dangerously unpredictable. Equipment began malfunctioning whenever Sarin was near, as though her presence distorted electromagnetic fields. The translator's algorithms no longer worked properly. They weren't needed. Elias could feel her emotions now, her joy, her confusion, her longing. Sometimes he wasn't sure if his thoughts were his or hers. The rest of the team demanded to leave. "We've crossed an ethical line," Dr. Halvorsen argued. "This isn't diplomacy anymore, it's contamination." Elias understood, but part of him couldn't walk away. He was connected to Sarin in a way that transcended words. It wasn't love, not exactly, it was deeper. Recognition. Two species discovering the same music inside their souls. Still, Earth Command would never allow it. They had protocols, limits. He knew what would come next. Quarantine, memory scrubbing, maybe even containment. The thought made him sick. That night, Sarin came to him one last time. "You must go," she said. "Your people fear the song. But it will grow, even without you." He wanted to protest, but she placed her hand on his chest. "We will keep the echo safe. And one day, when your kind listens again, we will answer." She handed him the music box. Only now, when he opened it, the song was different, interwoven with new tones, alien harmonics. The Nthari had added their voice to his. 8. Departure. When the transport ship lifted off from Epsilon 6, Elias stood by the viewport, watching the luminous valleys fade into the clouds. The music box rested in his hands, silent now. He wondered if Sarin could still feel him through the resonance, somewhere down there beneath the shifting light. Back on Earth, the scientists studied the device endlessly. Its mechanism had changed subtly. Metal reorganized at the molecular level, as though rewritten by vibration. When played, it produced sounds no human instrument could replicate. Some listeners described feelings seen, others remembered, though none could explain why. Elias was debriefed, examined, and quietly dismissed. Official reports reduced the encounter to a successful cultural exchange with non-hostile indigenous entities. The deeper connection, the merge, the shared memory, they classified all of it. But sometimes late at night, Elias would open the box and let the new melody play. It echoed softly in his room, resonating against the glass, the floor, his heartbeat. And faintly, just faintly, he could hear another voice beneath it, singing back from across the stars. 9. The legacy of Echo years passed. The Epsilon 6 mission became history. New expeditions went elsewhere. Humanity's attention drifted. But then, strange things began happening. Across the outer colonies, radio operators reported picking up faint harmonic signals, non-random, melodic, and eerily similar to the tune of Elias's music box. They pulsed through subspace, carrying encoded data that scientists couldn't decipher. Some called it interference, others a message. When Elias, now older, retired and weary, heard the recordings, he knew immediately what they were. The Nthari had found a way to sing across the void. The echo had returned. He replayed the transmission dozens of times, smiling through tears. "She kept her promise," he murmured. One evening, unable to sleep, he took the music box and stepped outside. The stars were sharp and endless above. He turned the key, let the melody play, and waited. First, there was only silence. Then, faint like a whisper from across time, he heard it, the answering song. Layered, harmonic, beautiful. Not just Sarin's voice now, but thousands woven together. Chorus of worlds. And in that moment, Elias realized what the gift had truly meant. It wasn't the music box. It wasn't the song. It was the act of giving, of sharing resonance, of saying, "We hear you." The echo had become a bridge. 10. Epilogue. The harmony of two worlds. A century later, long after Elias Varen's death, the first human Nthari coalition ship launched from orbit, its hull engraved with twin spirals. One human, one alien. Its name was the Sarin's Echo. On board, a young captain carried an artifact from Earth, a small brass music box. When she opened it, the melody filled the bridge, blending human lullaby with alien harmony. Every speaker on the ship resonated in sync. Outside, the stars shimmered faintly, as if listening. And somewhere, deep in the cosmic silence between worlds, a reply began to form. Soft, steady, beautiful. The universe was singing back.